hope that after you watch this, you'll head straight over to UT Gardens, get that camera out, and start taking storytelling pictures. So, visual storytelling. I have done visual storytelling for a long time. It's almost like that's what comes out of me with my camera. Is I like to take a picture that if I show it to you, oh, now it's definitely louder, isn't it? That if I show it to you, you have a sense of place. You have a sense of that, where I am, what I'm looking at, and hopefully you want to go there as well. We're going to talk about the way I like to think about visual storytelling is think of that it's a play, and you've got a stage, and you're the director. And so you've got a stage, you've got your actors, you've got your props, you've got you're in control of your lighting. You're in control of framing the action, where you put things, the placement of everything that's within that frame, within that stage. And then the narrative flow, how you want it to go from beginning to end, or maybe you don't want it to go from beginning to end. Maybe you have a different theme in mind, but you're in control of all of it. And as it says at the bottom, the camera will show you what you shot and how you shot it, but never where to look or how to see. And that's what I'm hoping that I will show you today, is how to look when you get to a garden, how to look at things and how to think about framing them, where to place them. Because composition is the arrangement of everything that you're looking at. And you want to be mindful of your focal point, which is the subject. Backgrounds, what's in your background? Do you need to exclude anything? Do you need to add something? Is it interesting? Is it distracting? You want to think about the placement. And I'm going to talk about frames, because framing is really fun. I mean, this is the frame, but there's even more to it than that, and we'll talk about that later. Working with light. We can't control the light. The sun is out there or it's not out there. It's different times of day. We can't control any of that, but we can work around it. And so we'll talk about that. Lines, patterns, textures, all how that will play. So the main character is going to be your main actor. The headliner is your focal point. And whether you have a large vision like the photo on the left where you're showing where it is in the garden, or whether you decided to focus right on just that, just always keep in mind that that is the focal point. And that is where the eye is going to end up. It may work its way around, but it always ends up at the focal point. So you want to keep that in mind. And then background. Background is, you always hear people say, you know, when you're doing a self-portrait or portrait, don't have a tree coming out of somebody's head. Well, that's part of background. But other parts of it is, look at, you know, this little crown of thorns this is. And the where it was in the garden was not pretty at all. There wasn't a pretty place to take a picture of it. And that wasn't what attracted me to it. And this is very key, is what made you stop in your tracks there and say, I want to take that picture. Well, it was the beauty of these thorns with those flowers, those gorgeous flowers, and then all that spikiness about them. So really, with my background, I wouldn't want that picture. I want it just to add it to my collection so I can look back if somebody wanted to know what the full thing was. But when I fine-tune for my would make the cut. And I love this quote at the end, and I promise not to read to you, but I will probably read the quotes because I think they're so important. Painters start with a blank canvas and then add things. Very jealous. Photographers start with the entire world and you have to subtract things. So typically when we're walking in a garden, we walk someplace, we go, wow, I like that, snap, right? Isn't that what we all do? Snap it, fine, get that over with, and then stop and say, what really drew me to this? It wasn't the landscape behind this house. It was more tight than that. It was just this area right here. So always be thinking about how you really want that to be. You can come in and crop it, but most of the time it would be better if instead of that one picture, or along with that one picture, you go and you take the next one. Move a little closer, move to the right, the left. Look at your lighting, and we're going to talk about lighting, but look at all those things and make sure that's where you want to be when you snap that. This one in particular, so this talks about how you just sometimes only need to move a little tiny bit. If you look at the picture over there on the left, and let's see if I can do this without turning it off. See this right up here? Your eye is always drawn to light. Your eye wants to go here and it wants to go there. So it's going back and forth, back and forth. That's exhausting. Move a little bit over so that all you have on this one really is this. Does that make sense? Do you understand? Yeah. And I didn't have to move very far. I only had to move a short little bit. This one over here, the light was just a little brighter and hitting that. But once I moved out of the way and came in and cropped it just a little bit, I was much happier with this image. Your background is what's really going to showcase your actor, your main character. The one on the left, I was shooting in my garden. There were all the other flowers behind it. And the light was such that it was bouncing all over the place. And it's a gorgeous photo. I really like that under the right conditions. But it doesn't show off the grass as well. So if you can see the black area up in here, this is the woods behind my house. So if I just moved a little bit, got a little lower, I was able to capture that image with still the beautiful light hitting it, but with a darker background. So sometimes it really is just moving. Pathways make a natural place for the eye to rest. They offer a lot of things. They also add a sense of intrigue because you wonder where that's going. Where's this path going to lead me to? So it's a really fun way to add to your story by putting a path in there that makes the viewer want to see more. They want to go around that corner. They want to see what you're looking at. It's also, in a sense, like this one over here, is framed by all these flowers. So the pathway, in a sense, is where your eye goes. You know, it's a place where your eye feels very comfortable following that around. Here's the framing that I wanted to talk to you about, because this is my favorite kind of framing, where we have this beautiful tree that's kind of over this path. If you can see out here, the sun was pretty high, and that's kind of glaring. You know, if I went over to try to take pictures of those, I wouldn't have very good color. I'd have too stark shadows. So the time of day, it was a perfect time for me to look for a tree or something that would go across my path. Plus, the tree adds interest with these shadows down here. So you've got your dark shadows, so you're standing in the shadows. It's adding to, you've got that still sense of intrigue, where is this taking me? And then you've got the tree helping you with the light and helping you with the color. That's one way to control light. And then on this side, there are many natural frames, and you'll see a few more ideas. There's trees, rocks, and grasses, doorways, arches, windows, your fences, your bridges, water. So once you start looking for frames, it's like everything else, they'll be everywhere. I love the one on the this gentleman here. I followed him around at Baxter Gardens this year. I didn't follow him. It just happened to be in front of me. It sounded like I was stalking him. And he, first of all, I loved him wearing a hat and a coat. I mean, he was kind of set the character stage for me, you know. And then if you think about where your eye goes, for me, it kind of starts there with him. Then it goes to the phone of him taking his picture, and then to his family in the doorway. And I was behind him because I wanted to take a picture of that doorway. I wanted that intrigue of what's behind this door. So anyways, that was a favorite picture of mine. And then the others, it shows you the archways. This one here, this path through the bush right there, it gives you a little bit of a point. It's like a line drawing you directly to that. Down here, you've got this little bit of framing that kind of adds to that. The two pictures by themselves, they'd be pretty, but this little bit of framing makes it look like it's a peek booth. You know, it gives a gesture, a punctuation to the picture. And then this little cavity in the woods. So like I say, once you start looking for frames, you'll see them everywhere. Framing people. I started off more as a storyteller, a street photographer, so to speak, even though Knoxville doesn't have a lot of streets to walk down and be a street photographer in. If I went someplace else, I would love to tell their stories. And the way that we work with people is, it doesn't matter whether you have a full-on DSLR that I travel with or a camera, but you decide where you want to be in that setting, and you know that somebody's going to come around the corner anytime. And you've got it all set, you know exactly where you want to stand, you know what your background, everything is. And when you out of the corner of your eye, you know that somebody's coming, pretend like you're looking at your phone, like you're making a adjustments, you're scrolling, you're, whatever, you're texting, anything, but don't look at them. Because if you do, they'll say, oh, she needs me to stop or she takes a picture. Don't look at them at all. Just pretend like you're, not part of the scene. They'll walk through, snap, you got it. And it's a beautiful way to add people so that they're not conscious of you adding them. Because once they're conscious of it, they, it kind of throws it off. The gal up here, was Forks of the River, and she just stood out. And that complementary color with the yellow and the purple, again, framing, a natural frame. This lady down here asked me to take her picture on her cell phone. I did, and then I asked if I could take a picture of her. I love the way the azaleas look like they're hugging her. Mm-hmm. I just thought that was such a pretty picture. Placement of the subject. You've probably heard of the rule of thirds. I like to call it the guidelines of thirds. Learn it because it's really a good place for placement of your things, but you don't have to abide by it all the time. There's so many other things, other ways of placing the subject, but it does work very well to keep an interest. If you are working with a cell phone, you do have a grid and a level probably on your cell phone under settings, and so you can turn that on and you will get that grid, and the level will do like this if you're trying to get. So yeah, snap a picture if anybody needs anything to see. But for my camera, it's under settings, and it's just right there. Just turn them on. So this is the rule of thirds is one way to take a picture with the subject, your focal point right in one of those one of the grid sections. And then after that, maybe try centering it. Don't hesitate to take many pictures, especially nowadays when we can just toss them if we don't want them. But take several. I wanted to show the garden. I wanted to show kind of the placement of the garden and this and that. And that's why I like taking it in the center. But I also wanted to show this and the length of the garden going that way. So take it at many different areas. And then you can see with this one right here, there's that gate. Well, there it is over there. So I just moved over here so I could get it there. And I have another one where I'm back here taking it in. Just walk around and take as many pictures as you can because you're not sure which one might suit. If you do, like I've got some books over there of stories I've told from trips that I've taken, and you don't know whether you're going to need also a horizontal or a vertical in your story. One might fit, or the other one might fit. So take both. The line was always, when do I take a vertical? Right after you took a horizontal. That was the way it was always said. Symmetry is beautiful, especially when you have some of these long things and with the water down here, reflecting, so it even adds to the beauty of this. Now, this was in the dead of winter. We sometimes get these gardens as we're traveling through, and you don't have to say as to whether you're in it at a good time or not. But this is, when you do symmetry, do be sure that you have that grid, that level on, so that you can make sure things are. And another thing, and this is just an aside, but if you're taking a building, and I know we're talking about gardens, but if you're taking a building and you know that you're going to need to square this up later, be sure that you give yourself extra room for cropping, because as you square it up, it cuts it down a little bit. So, symmetry in nature, there's so much. This is a fun time to turn your camera into the 1:1 ratio and take them, or you can crop to that. Sometimes it's kind of fun to put in a square ratio so that you can, there's your viewfinder. You're seeing exactly what you're getting and you know how you want to place that. Everything in nature pretty much has some symmetry to it, and so it's beautiful when you can show it, focus just on that. Photography means light drawing. And it's very important that we learn the quality of light, and that's what we're going to go over so that you can see how to work with it. And George Eastman said, to embrace it, to admire it, to love it, but above all, know it. And I can't agree with you. You know who George Eastman was? I was Kodak camera. Okay, there's the early morning and dusk light, and that is your magic light. That's when the coloring that the flowers have is the most gorgeous. It's easy to work with. Your midday light is the most challenging. The overcast bright daylight is also beautiful. It kind of goes up there with the early morning light, but instead of giving it that touch of light, it just gives you like a soft box in the sky. The overcast dome light is really good for seed pods, grasses. It's kind of your winter light. You know, sometimes you'll get overcast in the winter and it's not particularly good light, but there are still things you can always go out and photograph. You can photograph every single day if you want. Here's some early morning light, and usually early morning light, I'm in my pajamas outside taking pictures because all of a sudden I look out the window and I went, look at that light, and I grab my camera and out I go. It's just so gorgeous. It's the way that it kind of just filters down on it, just barely, it's like a kiss. It's like a kiss of warmth. It's just beautiful. Here, and then you contrast it with your midday light. Look how challenging this is. Look at this. That's just not attractive. This poor little shadows covering this thing. So what do we do when we have our luck has it, we're at the garden at 1:30 in the afternoon, you know. What do? Move over to the side, and I'm going to go back so you can see. I went around here and found myself a spot over here so I could start looking at these guys. And light will filter through. There'll be a little hole in the trees someplace and it'll filter down for you. And those are pictures that are just as gorgeous as the early morning ones. I mean, they've got some light on them, they've got good color. So there's a workaround. Overcast light, there's another example for you for a different type of light. That's a big softbox in there. Also, mist and fog and rainy days will produce this kind of coloring, this type of light. Shadows are fun to work with. If I were to give an assignment, it would be go out and play with shadows. Shadows are so amazing. They create a mood. There's a contrast to them, drama to them. So when you see them, take their picture. They also can frame. You can see this is kind of leading your eye right around here and into this area with the light. So your eye always looks for the light. And here you've got this frame creating a shadow so you can photograph through it. The direction of light is important. So we have our light coming behind the camera. So behind me, you've got your light behind the subject. And then you've got the side light coming in, unless you're midday and then it's just straight down. But the rest of the time, you're going to have one of those. The front light, now this little image here, I'm not facing this, but I wanted you to see what was coming. I am facing this right here. So this is in front of me, and this is popping through the trees behind me. So this little bit of gravel up here, I'm standing to this side of that. I've got, see this white specks I've got coming through on this background? So that can determine your background, what you have back there. So move to get either that, or I moved over to catch this, where I only had flowers behind it. So where you position your body is extremely important. Here's the backlight coming from behind the subject. So I was at UT Gardens, and this was coming through the trees, and look, it puts a glow on these, but so much so that I couldn't really go out there and photograph these right here. They would be too hot, too contrasty, and too much in shadow. But I could find where that light's just barely touching some of these and end up with some beautiful pictures. So kind of knowing where that light is and what it's doing. And people always ask me, how do I get that sunburst? Well, on a DSLR, you're moving your aperture all the way up to 22, so you've got a really tiny window, and then you're moving your body as you see those sparks coming out of the tree. I've been trying that with my cell phone, and I thought I got it once, but I'm still working on it. So here's backlighting. Now that's the same light as this, except I found a spot where it's just filtering through the trees enough that it's just giving me that translucent. See how it's kind of back there? It's just pulling, and there's really not shadows on it. It's another beautiful light, real three-dimensional. Side lighting. Side lighting is fun because you end up with these beautiful little shadows on it, but it's not too much. The light's not so strong that it depletes the color, that it washes out the color. So the story is told with collections of images, we all know that, to make a better picture, a bigger picture. And you want to look for all the things in the garden. You want your supporting cast, you want your props, you want the supporting actors. So that also makes up the story. The snapshot encapsulates a moment in time, tells what you did and where you went, but you want to go to the photograph, which has something to say and the power to tell a story. So you want to make sure when you're taking it that you have a vision and that you shoot for that vision, that when you're looking through there, you're seeing something that, yeah, that's exactly what I want. So to create this visual narrative, you want to take quite a few pictures. You want to take, the wide shots are going to be like your establishing shots. This is where I am. This is the sense of place. Then you come in a little tighter and you take some smaller vignettes and a little bit more intimate. And then you come in really tight and grab the pieces of it that people really can't tell. And you'll see some examples of that. You want to be high, you want to be low. You want to be worm, you want to be bird. So here's a good example of your shooting wide, and then turn around and take the vertical. This could also be a medium shot. It doesn't seem to catch as much as that top shot, so you kind of got both. But then what really drew your eye to that shot? It's really that red bridge. I mean, the beauty is in the lake and the trees. I love reflections, and the trees reflecting in the water. But that red bridge in the Japanese garden is just gorgeous. So that's where my attention wants to be. I want those other pictures to give you a sense of place, but I want that bridge so you can see how beautiful it is and its reflection. Shoot wide and fill the frame. The cool thing about filling a frame is look how you can see how he put this together where you can't really tell it from here. You can't see how all of these little pieces go together. Look at his eyebrows up there. Look how aren't they gorgeous? What a talent this man has. And so shoot wide and then give more detail. By the way, an aside note, he's adding these trolls to the Asheville Botanical Gardens coming up in November. So schedule a trip. Google it and you'll find out when it's going to be. Capturing from different viewpoints. It tells more of the story. This first one, yes, I'm back down here. The second one, I'm up here. Just move around and tell your story from different places. Because from this view, you really can't see all of this. And so you want to be able to add more to your story. Again, this is, again, the horizontal and vertical and changing direction. It's also framed. And a pop of color. I didn't mention the pop of color, but it's always nice to have a pop of color as a point of interest as well. This is a beautiful ficus tree in Selby Botanical Gardens, and it is just so beautifully spread out. But get closer. See where that's going, and give people a little bit more information. And then don't forget to capture the signs with it. I photographed for UT Gardens so that they can put things on social media and their magazines and so forth. And that's where I learned, it made it more firm in my mind to be sure and take pictures because I left the signs because I need to let them know what cultivar it was so they didn't have to go find out and what we were looking at. And then when you add that to it, then you can remember. You'll go home and you will forget, I promise you. So take a few of those. So another thing that on these wide shots sometimes is, especially if the garden is in a city or near a city, when you add some landmarks, like buildings behind it, then anybody that's looking at that that's familiar with Atlanta, say, will say, oh, I know where that is. Now the one thing that's hard for photographers is, see all these little green things? Those are not bugs, they're the darn Christmas lights. They put those up at Halloween, and they don't go down until January. So that's a little frustrating for visiting gardens in the fall and the winter. Look for detail, color, interesting things. I love the lichen on these benches. I love the color. I love the detail in this little thing. So kind of, once you take one shot, the bigger shot, look and see what really brought you, what did you see first? I'm sure for me it was the yellow lichen, and then next would have been this. So capture all of it. Again, your wide and your tight shots to give a little bit more information. Here's one of those that I was talking about that you can see this and you know it looks really beautiful, but until you take this picture, no one knows that but you. So you want to take some tight shots from a different angle that will add to your story. This is at the Crystal Bridges Museum in Bentonville, and it's beautiful glass balls are all over this lake. And I walked around and took pictures from every angle I could think of. And that's what I want you to do. Don't just stand, just don't go plant yourself someplace, take your pictures and check that off the list. I want you to walk and go low, go high, and see what you can capture. Look at the beautiful reflections that are on this. I, for a long time, took window reflections. That was my thing, my story was window reflections, the abstractness, the juxtapositions of it. So whenever I see reflections, I'm so drawn to them. It's just another addition, an abstract addition, a conceptual addition to your story. Capture from different angles. Here's the one that tells where I am in the garden. Here's another one. I'm going to tell you about this shooting through, where you see this little bit of mist type thing. It's actually, I'm shooting through some grasses. And it just, because my focus is on these guys, this becomes blurred. And then get up close. Your bird's eye view, your worm's eye view. I would suggest, if I were giving homework assignments, it would be to go to a garden, find a spot, find something that attracted you to that garden, stand there for 15 minutes and walk around and take as many pictures as you can. I've heard of people saying, I want you to take 100 pictures from this spot. Sounds like, I can't take 100 pictures from this spot. You would surprise yourself. You would be so surprised at how many pictures you can take. So do a study of something. There's my study of some irises. This type of photography is almost Georgia O'Keeffe. Do you remember how she would take these amazing pictures and make them very sensual? Plants are like that. They are so absolutely gorgeous. Color in the garden. When you pop in and you see all of this color, find a way to show it. Look around for a way that you can show the whole picture. But then, while you're doing that, also look at what's going on in the small detail area and capture that. Color combinations. Color combinations can be plant combinations, the crimson rose and the irises. And I tell you, after I saw that picture, that's another thing about photographing gardens, is you learn what people have planted and how they look in their garden, and you go home and plant in yours. I did that this year for my garden, and I love those popping up all in between my flowers. It just added so much color. And then you've got your plant background, the color of your background and the color of your plant. Be thinking about that and make those complementary or not, if that's what you want. Remember, there's no rules. You're making the rules as you go along. Within the plant, the different colors within a plant. Look for patterns, texture, and repetition. Bark is amazing sometimes. It has all three. It's got the pattern, it's got the texture, and it's got the repetition. And then the beautiful, you can almost feel like you could touch that, like you sense it, you feel it. Texture's like that. Texture is what adds an emotion to your picture. And then over here, when you're doing something that's a repetitive pattern like forests, I like to leave one of them that's in focus and pull out the others a little. Then it's very clear which one is the main character. Focus on the abstract elements within the subject. This now, you can do it both ways. You can change it to the 1:1 ratio that I told you, or you can take a picture of the whole thing and then later pull in, and that way you can play around with it. Maybe you'll get 2 or 3 different versions of it that way too. When I'm shooting textures, I like to make sure at least one part of it is in focus, and then that will lead your eye down. That leads your eye up and then back down to back. Grass is that beautiful texture. Some of the grasses, like, whoops, wrong one. this one and this one and this one over here is at UT Gardens where we park, as if you're a volunteer over there, you park at the top. That's right down next to them. And what this one here, when I first took those a couple years ago, this looked like a wedding to me. Here's the bride and groom, her little veil, and there's the guy marrying her. I mean, you know, if you think of the story within the story, it's kind of fun. And then just the way that the grass plays with the flowers is just beautiful. And it also made me add more grass to my flowers, to my gardens. Again, another homework assignment. I hope you guys are writing these down because, you know, we're meeting up next week. Another homework assignment would be to go out and do bark. I mean, look at this gorgeous bark. It's just little snippets of it add so much texture. Look for interesting lines and patterns. Again, water reflections, any kind of reflection has that. You know, if you don't get that little pattern going, just drop a little petal in it, you know, and there it'll go, and you can snap, snap, snap. And then your time of day for showing off the spikes on this cactus. And here's some more water reflections. This one's UT Gardens, those little tubs that you first walk in. I was there yesterday. I was out there yesterday, and another 10 minutes gone of my life just sitting there photographing the silly water. It wasn't even pretty water, but good pictures. You can find something in something that nobody else would look at. Everybody else would walk by that going, that is ugly. How did you get down and you do selective focus and you find the little things in there that nobody else is seeing? And that's what I want. If I give you anything today, if I give you anything today, it's that sense of observation. Make that the key thing that you observe, because taking pictures with your camera, your iPhone, whatever it is, will make you so much better at observing period in life. It doesn't have to be for the camera. Just it will add that to your toolkit. These other reflections. Often what I do with some of these is I'll turn my picture. I'll take this part here is actually this way, so this whole thing is flipped. I'll turn it around. I'll have to show you on another picture sometime. But reflections, sometimes you can turn them upside down and they look gorgeous. So here's like a little short story that I put together. This was the Savage Private Gardens. I don't know if you go to that during Dogwood Days. But this year, I'm glad I took this last year, because this year a tree had fallen on the greenhouse and the house, and you couldn't even go in there. Nothing was in there. So just some little snippets of taking that in 3 different ways, taking the inside in a couple different ways, and then getting some close-up. And then don't forget your sign that says these on the historic register. You know, it adds to your story. Just as the director casts actors to fit certain roles, the photographer selects subjects and props that best embody the story they want to tell. Now we're into the fun part. All the things that you can add. You've got your main basis, you've got the stage set, you've got the lighting control, although we'll still use lighting in all these. But now you're going to start adding the characters. And so whenever I take pictures of children, I always try to take them from the back. I may never be sharing these pictures, but I still don't need that information. So I take them from the back, but I have them doing something. This gorgeous gal here, it was her outfit. Don't you just love it when somebody comes dressed for the occasion? And then just showing, I always take pictures of photographers no matter where I am, just to have them documented. Take pictures of the workers and the tools that they use, and the backstory, where everything's all stored, all the gloves. So enhance your story with some activity. Floral portraits, that's my favorite. I forgot about that. Put my hand in my pocket. Capturing a dewdrop or just the little suggestion of a flower is so beautiful. Selective focus. You decide what's to be in focus and what's not. What do I want to tell in this story? Again, more Georgia O'Keeffe. Here's the shoot through. So I've got this is what it looks like. Then I move until I've got this little bit of some grasses or a leaf just right at the tip of my lens, and it kind of blends it into the image and adds a kind of a mist or a fog to it. Really very pretty. Again, what part of that flower speaks to you? What part do you want to accentuate? These are portraits. You know, no different than if you came to me and asked me to take your picture. I want to capture the essence of this flower. I want to capture a part that maybe nobody else sees. Maybe nobody else will see that when they walk through. But that says, look how pretty I am. You know, look at me, look at my colors, look how they change. Gestures and personalities, and they have them, and this is the most fun part to look for. You know, she looks like she's sticking her tongue out at me. That's my interpretation. And this one, do you remember when you pucker your lips like a lemon? And this over here was like a hand mirror. Mirror, mirror on the wall. Who's the prettiest flower of them all? Sunflowers are so cool because they all come up pretty much the same time. So you can go out in the field, spend 2 hours, and get every one of those pictures. You don't have to come back the next day. You know, they're all out there with many different shapes and gestures. Age flowers are gorgeous. These look like paintings. These look like oil paintings that would be hanging, or tapestries of some sort. There is so much character, which I love. We're all getting older. We look like this. We're gorgeous. You know, look at the richness. Even though you think that they're dried and all, but look at the richness in color. They're really, really gorgeous. Look at even this one has. Look at her hair, you know, she's just, and this one losing her hair. you can tell whatever story. Each one of you will have a different thing that you see when you see it, but that's the fun of telling stories. Look for garden critters. They're hard to capture sometimes, but they are so fun when you get them. And be careful of the background so that they stand out. Birds are another one that are a little bit hard to capture, but it's always good to touch base because they are our pollinators. They are our friends in the garden. So we want to include them. When you're shooting any of these kind of critters, you want to shoot from above and you want to shoot from below, but also get to their level. So whatever you have to do to get to their level gives a nice perspective. Now, a lot of times with the butterflies, you want to be a little bit above them so you can see that beautiful coloring that they have when their wings are spread out. But I also like this. I love to see them. Look how gorgeous they are. This one. And this, look at that lighting. Bees and wasps. This one up here, he's a predator robber fly, I think he's called. And he had just caught something. I watched him from my window. I'm shooting this actually through the screen, so it's surprising that it's even decent. But he grabbed it and landed there to eat it on it's fascinating. What I like to do with insects, if you're using like a DSLR, which I use most of the time, I will take one with my phone as well, because you can then go, when you pull up that picture in your photos, you can hit the little button there on Google that will look that up and tell you what it is. And then I record it. That's the title of it then. So that if anybody asks me what that is, I don't have to go, I forgot. There it is, right there. If you post on social media, this is such a good way to train people and teach people. As all of you know, we have so many people out there that just want to kill every single thing that lands on their flowers, and that's not always the case. Some of these are beneficial and some aren't. But it's also nice to just have them and get to know them. They're friends. This is kind of cool. This right here becomes this. This right here used to be this. And then this is the predator, parasitic wasp eggs. These are the eggs from the green lacewing. For anybody who didn't know that, I thought I'd share. I look them up and I learn. But then if I don't have a picture of it, I forget. So traits and personalities. See what you can capture. This guy here, I watched him take one step. I wish I had a video because he was so cool. And then this guy over here, I watched him eat that whole butterfly. And he's looking at me. He knows I'm watching him. And I love this one looking like he has eyeballs. your garden opportunities are many. You all know about the botanical and arboretums, the private gardens. There are flower gardens, the tulip gardens, the iris gardens that you can go and just capture one type of flower, or cutting farms. The urban community gardens, as I mentioned with the Atlanta one, if you can capture the city behind it, that really tells that story. It definitely gives a sense of place for that. Your neighborhood gardens, for me, close where I am, is like the 4th and Gill or Sequoia Hills or Island Home in your areas. I know you have them. There's some fabulous gardens to take pictures of, and then our state parks are beautiful. Our other parks are gorgeous. So, as you capture the essence of the garden, know that nature is always changing and evolving. The garden you photograph may not be the garden that everyone else sees. So if you put 2 people in there, if you and I went together, we would both have different stories. Your focus will be different. You're creating a narrative. It will be your story of that garden on that day. And this is my made-up garden that I did in Photoshop. So see, you'll never see that garden. Photography is the art of observation. It's about finding something interesting in an ordinary place. I found it has little to do with the things you see and everything to do with the way you see them. There's our observation. We're learning, we're training ourselves to observe. And I thank you for coming, and I hope that this was helpful for you. I hope that it will bring out an extended version of yourself, that you see things a little differently and that you capture them. And if you want to see any of the work that I do, there's my website up there. I will tell you, I create that website for me. So if there's too many pictures in it, it's because that's what I wanted there, so I have to look at them as a roll instead of in Lightroom. But enjoy, and thank you so much for coming. While you're sitting there, and it's easier, I think, if I walk over here to show you. So when this rolls up and fits into this, it just kind of does this kind of number. They make these small little guys so that if you wanted to, if you're at a garden and you want to shade it from the light, because that's the only time you have, this is a real handy little thing. You can get something like this, which will attach to, if there's some other plant or a stake, you know what my favorite stakes, especially if you're at your home garden, is the sign, the metal part from the signs from political things and stuff like that, those kind of things, and then you can either clothespin this to it or use something like this, and then you've got that. Also, if things are in your way, you can find little things to pull them out of the way. You know, if you've got a stick or a twig or something that's coming and it won't move, and you want to picture that flower without that. This is the camera that I use. I absolutely love it. And then, you know, now, I didn't bring the one for the phone. I brought the one for this camera, but they make ones like this. You can attach these to a wall or to something if you need. I don't shoot with a tripod. I have several tripods, and they're just doorstops for me. I don't shoot with them. So, but they're still handy to have. There are times when I've had to use it. So I do use them once in a while, but I don't take it around the garden. It's a little too awkward to go in and out, and some gardens won't allow you to take them.
Well, I have a question, Elle.
Okay. Oh, I forgot to ask for a question.
Behind you.
Hmm?
Where are those books?
Oh, okay. So, whenever I did a lot of bicycle touring, and it's my favorite thing in the world to do, because you're on a bicycle, you can stop anywhere to take a picture. But that's how I got started with cameras. I was a cyclist, and I could stop at the side of the road. I take the wildflowers, I take all the barns, document the barns, just documented everything. I knew that we would lose these farmlands and these back roads, and so I was documenting them all. Well, whenever we go on a camping, this one's Glacier, and we're backpacking in this one, but I would do a story of that. And the fun thing is that I always thought was when I got home, I would look up that area and then write about it. So I would add and put words to these. These books are so fun. This company here is called Blurb, and Blurb's been around a long time, and it has software that you download to your computer, so you're not constantly working online. You can work on it when you're not online. And then you add your photos, and then you upload it back to that. Now, back in my day, back before prices all were high, this book cost me $40. It's not bad. So, and then this was one, this is the first, I
think this is the first book I ever did. And this was on, I went to England on a bicycle tour, and this is either, let's see, does it say on the back which one this is? It's either I said snapfish, I don't think that's right, or shuttlefly, or one of those. Snapfish, it is, it's snapfish. So, you know, there's another option. But then, and then I haven't done a book in several years, and so there might even be so many more options out there, I don't know. But
I take pictures.
In the vein of becoming a better photographer, what were those assignments you gave?
oh, one was play with shadows. Definitely play with shadows. I watched a wonderful podcast the other day on a photographer. He's a portrait photographer, but he talked about this gal. She's a graphic design exec in New York City, and she pulled out her phone one day because the way the shadow was hitting the stairway, and she took that picture. That led her to do a whole thing called Office Fire Traps or something. I can't remember now. Office Romance, something. She started taking black and white on her phone pictures of shadows every day. She would find where the shadow, the light was coming in. So shadows is a big one. Do something with shadows. Bark was another one. The study, the iris study, some study. It doesn't have to be flowers, whatever it is. Sit there, find a place, prop yourself right there, and see what you see. Observe, and then take pictures of it. And then I would always say, find one subject and see, and that it kind of goes hand in hand. But see if you can walk around and how many pictures you can get of that. And remember, they don't have to all be great pictures. It's teaching you something even if they're not. It's teaching you to look differently. You'll learn then what you captured and how that worked for you, or how you have to try a little differently. And maybe you might look at it and go, wow, I just stood a little bit further over. Or what happens to me all the time is I didn't include enough information. I cropped it too tight. Give yourself a little bit more room. There's the philosophy of some photographers where don't crop. You need to get it right. Get it right the first time. I disagree with that totally. You don't know how you might want to crop that. You might see something in that photo later that you didn't see when you were there. And maybe you can go back, maybe you can't. So you don't want to give yourself wide room, because then as you narrow that down, if you want to print it, you've taken away some of those pixels. So don't overdo it, but give yourself a little bit of room in case there's something. And then do be sure you can get that level on your camera and a grid. That will help you a little bit, at least knowing where things are. If you can find that on your camera settings.
I didn't want to ask on using your phone. Are there any lenses or anything like that you recommend, or is it just simply using the macro settings on it?
I actually went and bought a set of macro, because macros where I feel that the camera just does not take the macro shots that I want. They'll get there someday, they're not there yet. So there are some that you can get for that. What I found when I bought them and then returned them was that I have this anyway, this does a better job. If I didn't have that, maybe I would force myself then to carry that. But I felt like, why do I want to carry a lens when I'm already carrying this? So it didn't work for me, but there's some really good videos. Also, go to YouTube. There's some great videos out there on, type in what you want, and then there's some real good ones. There's some also, not necessarily, but and then here's another key thing. If you happen to have an iPhone, our Apple store down in the mall, they do free classes, and you can be a one-on-one as a free class as well. But you go to their page on, that's the Apple store, and find out when they're offering one on the iPhone. They offer one on the iPhone, and then they offer another one on processing. And I've taken the one on the iPhone twice, I forget, and then I haven't taken the one on the processing yet. I want to. I also learned that a lot from some other virtual summit things that I was telling you about that I take that will teach me how to do that as well. But yeah, try that. The other thing, and that's the thing that on the different iPhones now, the more recent ones do a little more than some of the older ones, and so it's a little hard teaching a class on that because somebody has that phone and somebody doesn't. But there's ways of adjusting your exposure that really helps. Like if you saw that beautiful full moon the other night, if you go out and just take a picture of that moon just the way it is, it's got all this glare around it. If you'll take that exposure, if you'll tap your lens and drag down that exposure, you'll get a beautiful moon shot. So there's things like that, and they'll teach you this at the Apple Store. So I would suggest you do that. I mean, it's so wonderful that they're free.
Is it a specific class on photography with your iPhone?
Yes, specifically with your, look for the camera, the photography one. So I'm glad you said that, because when I think of iPhone, I think iPhone and camera are the same thing. I don't use my phone I know I use it to talk, but it's really a camera. So yeah, thank you.
Aside from cropping, do you do any other editing of the photo?
Thank you. Yes, thank you. I do. I hate it when I say that. I do post-processing. With the iPhone, a lot of that, most of the time, will just be cropping. It is so beautiful at capturing it. It might be bringing down the highlights a little bit, or the exposure if it overshot it. I also don't like really contrasty colors. I often saturate my colors a little bit, especially the greens. Sometimes the greens are like in your face green, and I'll bring that down a little bit because it's distracting from the flower. Like if the leaves behind it are that super neon green, or I don't know, it's not neon, but it's a bright green. I'll desaturate that a little bit, and that's all in your. If you're only using a camera, that's in your normal settings, so you can go in there and do that. Do it to what you like. You can also copy your edits, from one photo to another. So if you do some of that photo and you've taken the other one in similar light, you can just copy it, and it's up on those 3 dots, and you just hit that, say copy, and then go to the other one, 3 dots, and paste. And then cropping, I will also sometimes add ever so slight of a vignette, and that's a little section. It pulls that light away from the outside. Remember how I said you follow the light? You don't want to follow the light outside your picture. You want to keep it in. So I vignette just a little bit, not enough so that you guys think I framed it with a black, opaque frame, but just enough so you can't tell, but it's pulled it in. You'll see what a difference. I tried to take a picture of that so I could show you, at least in the extended version of this, so I could show it, and it didn't show. It's like you couldn't really tell, but it's just enough. When I'm doing it, I see the change. I'm glad all my words came to me today. You know how we're getting older and our words just totally left you?
I think you did a wonderful job. So, Elle, thank you so much.